If you've ever tried to buy a Throttle e-bike on Amazon and had no idea whether the one in your cart actually qualifies as Class 2, you're not imagining the confusion. Class 2 legally means throttle assisted and capped around 20 miles an hour. Nothing more, nothing less, and a huge share of what Amazon calls an e-bike quietly blows past that cap. So I went through 10 listings that actually hold the line worst to best. Number 10 already needs an asterisk. Number 10 is the HQYEX 14-inch mini foldable e-bike, and on its own, it's a genuinely capable little commuter. A 500-watt brushless motor, a top speed of 20 miles an hour, a 48-volt 9-amp-hour battery good for 20 to 40 miles per charge, and 3 riding modes, pedal assist, throttle, and manual AI, confirmed directly in the listing. It folds down small, comes with dual disc brakes, front and rear lights, and HQYEX backs it with a 1-year warranty and what the listing calls lifetime customer service. Reviewers who bought it consistently mention how easy it was to assemble and how convenient the removable battery is for apartment charging. Here's where it gets messy though. This exact product page bundles that 14-inch, 500-watt, 20-mile-per-hour bike with 20-inch and 26-inch versions running 1,500-watt motors that hit 25 and 31 miles an hour, meaning the same listing sells you a Class 3 dirt bike-style machine under the same title if you pick the wrong color swatch. The Class 2 configuration is the base black option priced at $249.98. Anything showing options from $599.98 on that page is a faster, heavier bike that no longer qualifies. It's also the least reviewed bike on this list, with only 19 ratings behind it, even though those ratings currently average 4.6 stars. If you want a genuinely inexpensive folding throttle bike and you're careful to select the correct tile, it delivers. If you click through without double-checking which configuration you landed on, you could end up with a bike that isn't Class 2 at all. Number 9 is the Tomfree Top Pro, and the standout here is comfort. Tomfree built this one around a 10-point shock absorption system with dual front fork suspension, dual center shocks, 4 rear suspension points, and dual seat suspension, which is a lot more cushioning than anything else in this price range. It runs a 749-watt peak motor off a genuinely large 48-volt 22.5-amp-hour, 1,080 watt-hour battery, and Tomfree's own listing describes it outright as a Class 2 e-bike, reaching speeds up to 19 miles an hour. It folds to a compact 31.5 by 20.5 by 23.6 inches, comes with a front basket, water bottle holder, combination lock, and toolkit, and Tomfree's printed spec chart confirms the top speed holds at 20 miles an hour across the 14-inch tiles. The catch is that this same listing also sells a 16-inch T1 PRO tile with a 500-watt nominal motor that the manufacturer's own chart labels 20 miles per hour, unlock higher speed. So you need to specifically select a 14-inch TOPRO tile, not the 16-inch one, to stay inside Class 2. It's also thin on track record with only 20 ratings so far, and one verified 1-star review describes the battery failing after a few uses and a slow, frustrating warranty process. At $285, you're paying a bit more for that suspension and battery capacity, and for riders who prioritize a plush ride over raw numbers, it's a reasonable trade. Just don't skip reading the size options before you check out. And stick around because the bike that ends up at number 1 on this list has racked up more verified owner reviews than the other 9 combined. And that kind of track record doesn't happen by accident. Number 8 is the Cycrown Run Mini, and this is the one bike on the list that puts its Class 2 status in writing, describing itself as US Class 2 compliant right in the listing copy. It's a moped-styled commuter with a 750-watt peak motor, a 36-volt 10.4-amp-hour battery, and 5 selectable speed modes that step new riders up gradually from 10 miles an hour to a capped 20. Cycrown's pitch is that it's built for first-timers and shorter riders, with a compact 16-inch frame designed to fit people from 5 feet up to 6'2", without the oversized feel of a 20-inch moped bike. It's independently safety certified to ANSI/CAN/UL 2849, comes with front and rear suspension, dual disc brakes, and a hand-stitched leather look saddle, and reviewers specifically praise how well it fits smaller apartments, RVs, and even elevators thanks to the compact 16-inch wheels. The honest downside is those same small, fat 16-inch tires. Great for a soft, stable ride around town, but they don't cover ground as efficiently as the bigger wheels on some of the bikes ranked above it. And one reviewer who's over 200 pounds noted it struggles a bit on steeper hills. At $549.99, it's also priced closer to bikes with noticeably more battery capacity, and it's only got 18 ratings behind that 4.7-star average so far. For a shorter rider, a teenager, or someone who specifically wants a manufacturer that spells out its Class 2 compliance in plain language, it's a strong, deliberate pick. For hill country or longer commutes, there are better range per dollar options further up this list. Number 7 is the HLOIE folding electric bike. And the first thing worth knowing is the price. At $145, it's the cheapest bike on this entire list by a wide margin. HLOIE's listing puts a 750-watt peak motor behind a top speed of 20 miles an hour, backed by a 48-volt, 12-amp-hour battery, good for 21 to 35 miles depending on how much you pedal. And the whole thing folds down to a 62-pound package that's UL 2849 and GCC certified. It ships with a basket, headlight, and horn included, and with 203 ratings averaging 4.2 stars, it's got a real track record behind that low price. Reviewers regularly call out how quiet the motor is and how easy assembly is, with most of the bike arriving pre-built. Now, the part that has to be said plainly. One verified 1-star review on this exact listing reports that 2 of these bikes caught fire within the first week of ownership, alongside a slow and unsatisfying replacement parts process. That's a single reviewer's account, not a pattern confirmed across the review base as a whole, and the broader review summary leans positive on quality and value. But it's a serious enough claim that anyone considering this bike should read that review directly before buying, and should follow standard lithium battery charging and storage precautions regardless of brand. Setting that one review aside, the bulk of the feedback is genuinely good for the price. If budget is your main constraint and you're comfortable doing your own diligence on battery safety, it's hard to beat $145 for a real Class 2 throttle bike. If that single fire report gives you pause, that's a completely reasonable reaction. And there are pricier but more established options just ahead. Number 6 is the Riro Crow folding electric bike, and this one leans on sheer sample size. 489 ratings is more real-world feedback than almost anything else on this list outside the very top spot. Riro Crow's listing lists a 350-watt rated 700-watt peak motor with a top speed of 20 miles an hour, a 48-volt 10-amp-hour removable battery good for 15 to 20 miles in pure electric mode, and 3 switchable modes: pure electric, pedal assist, and normal pedaling, which is Riro Crow's way of confirming the throttle function directly. It's certified to UL 2271 for the battery and UL 2849 for the whole bike, both validated by SGS, and at $195, it undercuts most of the folding bikes on this list. The catch shows up in the review details rather than the spec sheet. Multiple verified reviewers report the saddle clamp is too weak to hold the seat height under real weight, and at least one reviewer specifically flagged the handlebar locking clip as inadequate until they modified it themselves for safety. 1-star reviews sit at 16% of the total, on the higher end for this list. None of that is a speed or classification issue. It's a build quality one, and it's fixable with basic tools if you're willing to tighten things yourself on arrival. For the price and the review volume behind it, it's a reasonable budget pick as long as you go in expecting to do a quick post-assembly check of the seat post and handlebars. Number 5 is the RPNT foldable electric bike, and it's close in spirit to Riro Crow, but with a slightly more consistent review record. 357 ratings averaging 4.0 stars. RPNT's listing specs a 740-watt peak motor and a confirmed top speed of 20 miles an hour, run off a 48-volt 10-amp-hour battery, good for 20 to 25 miles in pure electric mode and 30 to 35 in pedal assist. It offers the same 3-mode setup as most of the bikes on this list: full electric, assisted pedaling, and manual and one reviewer's account of accidentally hitting the throttle and getting caught off guard by the acceleration confirms that throttle is genuinely there and genuinely quick off the line. Dual disc brakes and UL 2271/2 849 safety certification rounded out. The honest catch is similar to a few other entries here. The same listing sells 14 Mini, 14 Max, and 14 Plus tiers with different accessory bundles, so the $199 price and specs quoted here are specifically for the base 14 Mini tier. The other tiers cost more and come with extras like a phone mount and basket. A handful of reviewers also mention the battery lock mechanism not seating quite right out of the box, which is a minor annoyance rather than a deal breaker. If you want a proven mid-cheap folding throttle bike and don't need the extra accessories, this is a solid, unglamorous choice. Number 4 is the Isinwheel U7S, and this is the one bike on the list built around carrying stuff, not just riding fast. It runs a 750-watt nominal, 1,500-watt peak motor off a genuinely oversized 48-volt 20-amp-hour battery, the biggest battery of any bike on this list, with front and rear cargo racks rated to handle more than 330 pounds combined, a step-through frame, and 110 ratings averaging 4.4 stars. Isinwheel's listing also highlights recycled material and safer chemical certifications through the Global Recycled Standard, which is a detail you don't see on most of these budget listings. Here's the part every buyer needs to know going in. Isinwheel's own listing includes a warm reminder explaining that the U7S ships with its speed limited to 20 miles an hour for safety, but also walks you through a menu sequence to remove that limit and unlock a faster top speed. As sold and set up out of the box, it's a legitimate Class 2 bike, but that classification only holds as long as you leave that setting alone, and it's worth knowing the option exists before you decide whether that matters to you. One verified reviewer also reported a battery that wouldn't charge and an unresolved warranty claim, though the broader review set leans positive on build quality and hauling capacity. At $599.99, it's one of the pricier bikes here, but if what you actually need is a Class 2 bike that can carry 2 Costco-sized totes of groceries or a week of camping gear, nothing else on this list comes close. Number 3 is the URLIFE folding electric bike, and it earns its spot with sheer market traction. It currently holds the #1 bestseller badge in Amazon's electric folding bikes category, backed by 258 ratings at 4.1 stars. URLIFE specs a 500-watt peak motor, a confirmed 20 miles per hour top speed, a 20 to 40 mile range window, and 3 riding modes: full electric, pedal assist, and manual with UL and GCC certification on the whole bike. It folds down for easy storage, uses multi-point shock absorption at the fork, center, and seat, and at $249.99, it sits right in the middle of the pack price-wise. The honest catch here comes straight from real owners rather than the spec sheet. Several verified reviewers report real-world range well under that 20 to 40 mile claim. One specifically got only about 14 miles on a full charge, and more than one reviewer described weak power on hills despite the advertised 500-watt peak output. That's a gap between marketing copy and lived experience worth going in with your eyes open about, even though the majority of reviews are positive on build quality, comfort, and value. If your rides are short, flat, and mostly around the neighborhood, the bestseller status and price makes sense. If you're commuting up real hills or expect the full advertised range every time, temper your expectations before you buy. Before we get to the final 2, here's something worth sitting with. Almost every bike so far has been a small-wheeled folding commuter built to disappear into a closet or a car trunk. The last two bikes on this list take the opposite approach entirely, and that trade-off is exactly why they rank where they do. Number 2 is the Lowuk EB-M1, a full-size 26-inch electric mountain bike, and it's the only bike on this list that isn't trying to fold up small. It's built for taller riders who want a real bike shape underneath them. Lowuk specs a 500-watt motor with a 1,000-watt peak, a confirmed 20 miles per hour top speed, and a 48-volt 374.4-watt-hour battery, good for 25 to 30 miles in throttle mode and 40 to 50 in pedal assist. It offers 5 distinct riding modes: throttle, pedal assist, plain pedaling, cruise control, and a hill climbing booster mode, front suspension, dual disc brakes, and a 7-speed drivetrain, and it's independently certified to UL 2271 for the battery and UL 2849 for the complete bike. With 173 ratings at 4.5 stars, it's one of the better reviewed bikes on this list, and owners consistently describe the build as sturdy and the ride as noticeably more comfortable than smaller wheeled options. The catch is that Lowuk sells this exact listing across multiple frame styles, a mountain bike build with an external battery, and a separate step-through build with a built-in battery, both at slightly different price points, around $279.99 to $289.99 depending on color. So make sure you're selecting the mountain bike EB-M1 tile specifically if that's the ride you're after. It's also the heaviest, bulkiest bike on this list, and there's no folding it down for a car trunk or a small apartment. If you're over 6 feet tall or just want something that rides like an actual mountain bike instead of a scooter with pedals, this is the pick. If storage space is tight, it's the wrong shape for your life. And that brings us to number 1, the Gotrax R1, a 20-inch folding electric bike, and it wins this list mainly because nothing else here comes close to its track record. 718 ratings averaging 4.2 stars, more than every other bike on this list combined, and it carries Amazon's Choice designation in the category. Gotrax specs a 350-watt rated, 500-watt peak motor with a confirmed 20 miles per hour top speed, a 48-volt 7.8-amp-hour battery, 5 levels of pedal assist alongside a genuine twist grip throttle, dual disc brakes, and a lightweight aluminum alloy frame that folds down to 37.4 by 17.7 by 27.5 inches and weighs around 45 to 50 pounds. It's UL 2849 certified, and one verified reviewer put it best after researching the category themselves, writing outright that these are Class 2 bikes and noting most state parks limit Class 2 riding to paved roads, exactly the kind of real-world confirmation this list has been chasing all the way down. Gotrax backs it with 365-day part support and 24/7 customer assistance, and multiple reviewers specifically praised how responsive that support was after cracked screens or missing hardware. The honest trade-off is battery size. At 7.8 amp hours, it's smaller than the batteries on the Isinwheel U7S or the Tomfree Top Pro, with a pure electric range of about 15.5 miles before you're leaning on pedal assist to stretch toward the advertised 40-mile figure. At $593.99, it's also the second most expensive bike on this entire list. But for a bike that's this thoroughly proven, backed by a brand that reviewers say actually shows up when something breaks, and confirmed Class 2 by both the spec sheet and the people who bought it, that price buys real peace of mind the cheaper bikes on this list can't match. So here's how this actually shakes out depending on what you need. If you want the cheapest legitimate Class 2 throttle bike you can find and you're willing to do your own safety homework, the HLOIE at number 7 gets you there for $145. If you need to actually haul groceries, gear, or a passenger, the Isinwheel U7S at number 4 is the only bike on this list built for real cargo. If you're taller than average and want something that rides like a real bike instead of a folding scooter, the Lowuk EB-M1 at number 2 is your pick. And if you just want the safest bet with the deepest track record behind it, the Gotrax R1 at number 1 is worth the extra money. Which one actually fits how you'd ride it? Tell me in the comments, and subscribe if this saved you from guessing wrong on the classification.